Welcome back to the channel. It is a very cold day today, so I suggest you grab yourself a coffee. A big coffee. Because it is getting colder. It is December though. So, this here is my son's Rieju RS2 Matrix. Just came back from having an MOT, so I thought I'd do a little review on it. If you're not familiar with this model, Rieju is actually a Spanish manufacturer, going for years. This is essentially their take on the Rieju RS 50. Derby also do their own RS50 as well. This is actually a bit heavier than the RS50s because it's got a steel frame to it. This started out as the fully fed version, weighs about 120 kilograms, which is heavy for a 50. It's twice the weight of like a Maxi or Thomas A35. It has got 6 horsepower though, unrestricted. It'll get past 50, no problem at all. The reason this one is now kind of a naked spec is because the fairings were in a really bad state when we bought it, and it just financially just wasn't worth trying to repair them. So I made a little box to go under the subframe for the rear seat and convert to a single saddle, and also I converted the handlebars from clip-ons to conventional handlebars. And you're probably asking, why didn't you just get a set of top yokes from the naked version of this bike or a similar one from the same manufacturer? And there's a reason behind this. And this is the reason. Rieju, for some reason, use a multitude of different size forks on their bikes, which means the top yokes tend to vary between each model. So I took all the measurements and dimensions and offsets and everything, the fork tube diameter, and I could not find one that matched. So my only solution was to get a second set of RS2 Matrix top yokes. This one here. Actually, this is the original one. Because I knew then, in theory, that and that should all match. So what I did was I machined off the actual clip-ons, marked out the holes for, say, universal risers, and proceeded to bolt them to the bike. Well, that was the plan. So that's the area where the clip-ons used to be. And as I tried to put them onto the forks, they started to slide down and then they stopped. And the reason they stopped is because even though this is the same, the stem on that particular set of yokes was 23mm. And on the original set of yokes, it's 25mm. So I had to kind of bore out the center hole. And also, the other set of yokes didn't have this piece here. It was much thinner. So I had to machine up a spacer to go between the two to take up the distance, which you can see by here. That's aluminium. I have no idea why they would use so many different variations on their bikes, even on the same model. I find it very strange, and it's quite frustrating because the fork manufacturer also determines which brake caliber is being used, and that then determines which disc is used. So trying to find discs and stuff for this is can be a bit of a nightmare, especially in the UK where they're not that common. If you are planning on doing a similar conversion, then yeah, I'd recommend either just converting the yoke that you've got and not going back to clip-ons, or trying to get a spare yoke that matches it exactly, and then do what I've done. Cable wise, I had to put a longer front brake pipe on it. That came off, I think it was like the kind of enduro model. It's a little bit long, but I managed to tuck up the slack out of the way. And also the clutch cable came off of I think it was off an enduro model, mainly because the original one is a little bit shorter because of the clip-on bars. Strange enough, the accelerator cable and the choke, there's enough slack in them to fit. I did buy spare ones. I basically just googled Riejus with conventional handlebars that looked like a similar height to these ones, and ordered the cables for those, but I didn't need the accelerator and the choke one, just the clutch and the brake pipe. So here's the other side. Gear change, side stand. It'd be nice to have a centre stand on this, but because of it having the full fairing, there's no space for it. I don't know if they ever do one, but if you do any work on it, it has to go on a paddock stand. I've also fitted narrower tyres front and back, because they were ridiculously wide when we bought it. I think they're 2 sizes down on front and back, which also has changed the rolling radius a little bit so it accelerates quicker. We've also dropped the front sprocket as well, to change the gearing a little bit, because it is a heavy bike, especially with me on it. With my son on it, it's not so bad, but you really have to sort of max out each gear in the power band before you change. You try dawdling around town without being in the power band and changing gear, it'll just die on you, which kind of takes the fun out of riding it. So there we go. I mean, this one is 2006 model, so it's not exactly new, and they're still holding their value quite well. I think it's because the engines are quite, the AM6 engine is around about £500 if you want to rebuild one. So if you can pick up a complete bike for 700 that's running, you're laughing. They also, you can buy big bore kits for these as well, other bits and pieces, bigger carbs. We've kept this one completely stock, and it still performs quite well. The only issue we've had with, I think, was the vacuum operated fuel tap in the tank. It's a push fit one, held in with a duplicate, and the O-rings kept leaking on it, and it would just leak fuel everywhere. So try getting an aftermarket one, and they never sealed up properly. They're just slightly smaller than they should be. So I ended up changing the tank completely. What you see there is actually just a cover, the tank's underneath it, off of a 125 version, which came with a new tap, but it's in a slightly different place. That seems to be working much better now. I just haven't been able to find an aftermarket fuel tap that fits it, that doesn't leak. It's a shame, really. It's got oil injection, water cooled, 6 horsepower unrestricted. Yeah, the only grumble I've got is the weight of it. If it was a lighter bike, it'd be much more fun to ride. I think the gears would be a lot less hassle, and it's as it hasn't got a kickstart on, it's electric only. If you do get to the situation where you flatten the battery and you need to bump start it, pushing this thing to bump start it is a pain, because it is heavy. If it was lighter, it'd be a lot easier. But there we go, that's my only real grumble about it. So there you go. Thank you to all the new subscribers, much appreciated, and we'll see you all again soon.